What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Thank you so much for tuning in with us today. We got a special treat today as we have the guy that makes the players look good and then play good, Terry Calloway, head equipment manager for NC State, also better known as Country for those who don't know already. So Country, hope you're doing well today.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys.
I was getting ready to say, who's Terry? I was like, it's Country.
You ask probably 90% of the team and they don't know my real name because everybody knows it's Country.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So before we jump in though, real quick, want to take a brief second. So make sure again, if you haven't already, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. It really helps support us in the channel. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and check out all of our other NC State content. And please make sure to also follow us at Tuffy Talk Now at Twitter, Instagram. So with that being said, Country, wanted to first jump in because I'm sure a lot of people, if they haven't seen some of your videos, which have been posted on NC State football's YouTube page in terms of where your nickname came from. And I do got to say, with the fact that I worked with you for 4 years, I think I've got it down. So I'm going to say it for you, and then you let me know at the end if it was dead on. So your nickname started in 1995 when you were interning at Northwestern University. They said you had a slight Southern accent, but you thought that they had the accent. At the time, there was a basketball player named Brian Reeves who played Oklahoma State, and they said that you sounded like him, and his nickname was Big Country. And so they called you Little Country, and then over the years, you just got shortened to Country. So is that dead on?
You dead on, man.
There you go.
I've been practicing.
Need me for this, you know.
That's right.
I've been practicing. No, it's just it's just a funny story because again, I mean, it works with you so well, being a Southern guy. So just wanted to make sure I had it down, and I figured I'd give you a break to start off, kind of loosen up a little bit here.
I appreciate that.
So I wanted to kind of first ask, kind of in terms of how this all started for you. So first of all, I mean, what kind of originally first got you into being an equipment manager? What made you first get the idea that maybe I want to do this full time?
I guess when I was at Western Carolina, I was a student manager at Western Carolina, and I kind of just enjoyed it, liked it, just kept hanging around with Mike Taylor, who's the head equipment manager there, started asking questions and just helping him out more and more, and he let me start dabbling into, looking at orders and this, and I was like, man, this is something I really enjoy and I would like to do. I already knew I was a sport management major and athletic administration, and kind of did it as a student manager. And when I got done with school, I was fortunate enough that Northwestern hired me to come up there and be an intern. And I went up there to see if I really wanted to do it, because, Western, I was student, balance and everything. So I got up there, I was like basically another full-time employee and just fell in love with it and been doing it ever since.
Fair enough. And then you actually ended up after Northwestern, if I'm not mistaken, going to Wisconsin and being an assistant there for many years. And and also too, at that point was actually when you met Coach Dorn as well, if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct on that?
You are correct. I started at Wisconsin in 1997. Was assistant there. And then that's when Coach Dorn came, I believe it was 2006. I was worked for him for a while, and then he went down to NIU to be the head football coach. And after his first year, he called me up and says, hey, man, I need you to come down and run my program. I said, okay. And so I went down there to be the head guy. I was there for only 8 months, and I'll never forget it. And this is a story I'll share with you that not many people have heard. But so we're sitting there, NIU, MAC championship game. We're in Detroit. Coach Dorn's the last one in the locker room. We've won the MAC championship. There's rumors that we're going to be going to the Orange Bowl. So he says, hey, buddy, I need to talk to you tomorrow. What would be a good time? I'm like, Coach, we're going to get back 6 hours. We got a bus. We didn't get to fly in the MAC. And I was like, once we get back, I got to unload the truck. He goes, well, how about if we meet at 11? I'm like, yes, sir, I'll be there. I'll still be working. He goes, okay. He calls me at 10:30 on that Saturday morning. Says, hey, man, I got some stuff going on at my house. I really need to talk to you. I'm going to have a staff meeting at 12, a players meeting at 1 o'clock. In between that, we need to talk. Like, yes, sir. So Anyway, he walks into the staff meeting and goes, I just want everybody to know this morning I accepted a job at NC State. Please don't ask me yet about who's going or whatever. I want to get down there and figure things out. I appreciate everything you guys have done for me. I'll be in contact with you all. And the classy guy he is, hey, I won't mess with the recruits here. If they call me, I'll talk to them. I'm not going to call and try to recruit them to state unless they reach out to me. And he goes, okay, fellas, just keep it quiet. Don't let nobody know. I don't want to get on ESPN. I want to be a man. I want to tell the team because that's how Coach Dorn is. Then he goes, Country, I need to see you in my office. I walk into his office. He says, shut the door. He goes, we're going back to your home state. I said, heck yeah, let's go, And that was that. So he didn't ask me if I wanted to go. He knew I was going, so he just told me. He, fortunate enough, Dr. Yao let him bring me with him. So, back in my home state, and loving every minute of it.
Yep. Yeah, Country. So where are you from originally?
I grew up in Canton, North Carolina, which if you've seen the news the last day, it's not so good there with all the flooding going on. But, I grew up in Canton, close to Asheville.
Okay. So have you ever been to Raleigh much before you went to state?
Yeah, my brother actually was a football player at NC State for 1 year before he hurt his knee. He was a scholarship player here. So I've been to Raleigh a little bit, but hadn't really experienced too much of it. Stayed in western North Carolina mostly growing up. So
yeah,
gotcha.
So as the head equipment manager, I mean, there's a lot of coordinating that goes into that, and I'm sure that's a really big understatement. But you have to plan for the near and the near future. What the guys need today, what they need maybe next weekend or this upcoming weekend. But you have to coordinate stuff way in advance too, I'm sure. Can you explain to fans how much coordination it takes to organize all of that equipment for each player and coach, every single one of them?
Well, let's say, for instance, the uniforms. That is a 2-year process. Wow. Like right now we're working on 2023 already. So you got to work that far in advance with the uniforms. The month of October is like a blur for me because I have to place all my orders for August in October. So I have to try to predict our staff size, what size our players are going to be, and everything in October. And it's a one-time deal. Like I have to order in October, and that's it. For a lot of stuff, it's called booking orders. That's the only time. Like once I book that, that's it. Like I can't get more later. Like so, I have to really almost be a forecaster. Just think so far ahead. So the month of October is very stressful because we're in the season, but I'm also having to place orders. And you're in 2021. You're looking to place your orders in 2022, and you're working on 2023 uniforms. So sometimes I have to stop and think, okay, what year is this? Because it can get confusing, especially like October when you're really nailing down for the next season.
Yeah.
So having said all that, what's the next uniform going to be? No, I'm kidding. Don't answer that question.
No comment.
Yeah, I know, man. But that's so cool that you get to see all that kind of stuff, and it's a 2-year process. So I'm guessing like y'all are already in like you mentioned, the design processes of all that for 2024 and whatever might come down the road. That's pretty neat to think about.
Yeah, it's fun because it's a good collaboration between, Adidas pitches their ideas. Maybe our administration has their ideas. Coach may have an idea. I may see some cool stuff that I would like to see. So you kind of spitball off at each other, until we come up with something. This one that will be released here very soon was between Adidas and administration. A lot of this one's coming up.
Sure,
but it's going to be sharp. You guys are going to like it. It'll be released pretty soon. So I know you guys have seen the helmet for it. There's more of a story to it than just the helmet, but you'll have to just wait and see.
Yeah.
Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flightland's Dress Up Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need, offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time wearing and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. Well, and we'll definitely talk about that here in a little bit. But I mean, I definitely wanted to first say, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's no doubt when the helmet came out. I think we kind of learned from 2014 when the first black helmet came out that with the helmet comes a uni.
Yeah.
So
where
it's
there's
just a matter
smoke,
of
there's
time.
fire, kind of thing.
It's funny because I sneak around and do all that. I got to keep it from everybody. It's like me and Coach Dorn and our chief of staff may be the only ones in the building that know what's going on. I'm sitting there carrying boxes around, and all this stuff or bags, and it's just fun. And like my students will be like, "Man, I didn't even know this was in here." I'm like, "You wasn't supposed to know,"
Yeah, I know. That's pretty crazy because you got all those players, all those people around all the time, and they have no clue what's right, like maybe right at their feet, kind of thing. That's neat.
When we did the Stealth Wolf, that was a different kind of helmet altogether with the pearl, and we had the silver face mask and all that, or the black face mask. Sorry, I actually had my grad assistant would go down in the tunnel, and he built himself a wall, and he would go down there and put the helmets together, and none of the rest of the students even knew. Like they were like, "Well, where's Wade at? And where's Austin at?" I'm like, "I don't know, but I knew where they were, but I wasn't going to tell them where they were." So it's kind of fun to try to keep it, because I don't want to spoil it for the athletes or the fans or anything. You know what I mean? Like I don't want it to get out. I want them to experience and be excited about it.
And because you see too, like at times where there will be like, especially on YouTube, and I know State's done a couple times as well, where they'll do like they'll record and do like a player unveiling, and they'll show like a hype video, and then you'll see the players' reactions. For example, is that typically how it's always shown to the players, even though we may not see it every single time, or is it handled differently depending on how marketing and Coach Dorn wants to do it?
Up until last year, because of the COVID stuff, the players all got to see it, and like the players would see it, and then 30 seconds later they push it out, the public. We'd have somebody, okay, they've seen it, now you can push it out on Twitter or whatever. Last year with COVID, obviously, you couldn't really get together. It was all Zoom stuff, so it kind of was just released,
And because I actually want to kind of ask about that too with COVID, because especially with me, working under you as well, the biggest thing which I was thinking during the COVID was really just how in the heck can you guys do what you do? Because I know specifically for the student manager size, I mean, it's there's no doubt that I mean, you have a pretty large team of I think 13, 14 student managers. You have now a graduate assistant. You have yourself and two other full-time equipment managers, and there's no doubt that you need every single one of them in order to get the job done, to get ready for the season. So I mean, how was it in terms of what was your kind of initial reaction in terms of figuring out how to deal with COVID and how to get through COVID, and just kind of what was that process like? How did it kind of change your day to day?
It changed it quite a bit. Obviously, my first concern was the safety of the players, the coaches, and obviously my staff. And I got to give credit to the sports medicine department. They set some great guidelines, and we were very fortunate to to follow their guidelines. And from my staff, we made it through, unscathed, knock on wood. We had some issues with the players, especially when the student body came back right away there at the beginning of the season. But, we'd roll with it. But as for our change of policy, we were always wearing rubber gloves. We'd always make sure we had our mask on now. That was the biggie. We used to have, laundry chutes where they drop their dirty laundry in. But instead of them walking through and maybe the sweat splattering all over everybody or onto someone, we would put laundry baskets in the locker room, and they would drop them in there. So we would go to the locker room and get them and bring them back versus them walking through the locker room. That was the biggest change with us, was just the mask and how we, collected the dirty laundry. That was the biggest change for us. But also going to give a lot of credit to our student athletes, our football team buying in. They bought in, and we made it, all 11 games and a bowl game, which was remarkable because there wasn't many schools that did that. And, our football team needs to be commended for that, because they bought in. I mean, they did what they were supposed to. They didn't go out, they did all that. So they should get a lot of the credit.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And one of the things too that I kind of wanted to ask you is with football coaches, there's some typical styles of coaches that you see in terms of you might see some football coaches as more like player coaches. You see more coaches that are more strategic, some are that are more motivators. And so with being I guess a part of the football landscape per se, do you feel that there are certain styles of head equipment managers as well? I mean, would you say, that maybe your style is very similar to some that you've worked with before, et cetera? Have you seen many different types?
Yeah, obviously everybody's going to be a little bit different. I came into a great situation. I was the head guy at NIU, but I was only there for 8 months, so I didn't really, I got there in May and we started playing, you know what I mean? Like we started playing and practicing in August. I didn't really have a chance to really get things instituted there. It was more just getting things organized. It wasn't the way I wanted it. But then I come down to state and, I've got Smoke and Jimmy who, been here for a long time. I mean, Smoke, I think this is his 35th year, maybe, I believe. And Jimmy's been here like 20 years. So, I mean, those guys are good and they know what they're doing and they're good at what they do. And why would I want to come in and rock the boat? You know what I mean? So I just, my first year I was here, I learned from them. Okay, how does it work for you? And then I adapted my style to them, hey, if you're good at that, you run with it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sit there and go, well, I don't like it. I want you to do it this way because this is the way I've always done it. I'm like, hey, if that works for you and you can get your job done, run with it. That is one less thing I have to worry about. So, but there's other people out there, I'm sure that, this is the way it's going to be because this is the way we've always done it and this is how we're going to do it no matter what, you know what I mean? So, everybody's different. Everybody in the world is different, you know what I mean? So, I've been very fortunate to work with some good people.
Yeah.
Good. So last question for this part is, wanted to kind of ask you, what would you say is the hardest part about being a head football equipment manager?
The hardest part, I would say, is what we talked about before, me trying to predict in October what our staff and roster is going to look like in August. Because our department is growing. Every year we're adding new people because you've got to keep up with the Joneses. You know what I mean? Like if they add somebody, we got to add somebody. You know what I mean? The recruiting department, increases. The student athletes, we're up to 128 student athletes this year. We've been carrying 121. So but I didn't know that in October last year that we were going to be at 128. You know what I mean? That don't seem like a lot, but it really is when you perspective of trying to order it. But yet you want to get as much stuff as you can, but you also you got to stay within your budget. You know what I mean? So there's a big fine balancing act there of making sure you got enough for everybody and predict what, but also make sure we give them a lot of stuff.
Right. Absolutely. And actually too, one kind of other short piece while I was curious. So obviously you've gotten to know many different head equipment managers and have dealt with many different teams, whether it's traveling to away games or them coming to your stadium or whatever it is. So, your group today, you have around 17 people that work with you, including yourself. What's the largest equipment crew you've seen in your years? Have you seen 25, 30 people in an equipment room sometimes, or is it, would you say that your group of 17 is pretty much as large as you've seen?
Well, for football, most of the time, it's kind of funny. For football, you usually see, 18 to 20 people, for 128 athletes, coaching staff or whatever. It's kind of funny. A lot of your basketball teams will have a manager for every player. And then more that'll watch. Like I know at Duke, and it's been a while, I haven't talked to him, but a while back, Duke had one manager per player, and then they had like 8 additional managers who would be outside camming indoor, watching the door so nobody could get in to watch practice for 15 athletes. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So it's like every sport's a little bit different. Some sports may not even have a student manager at all, So, but for football, it's 15 to 20 is about average. Some places don't even have that many.
Okay.
We're very fortunate to have a sport management program here, and I'm able to pick and choose. And, some people I just don't feel like they may not fit, or the class schedule don't fit, so I just move on to the next one. I end up turning some people down. Or some places they'll take just if they got a heartbeat, you know what I mean? They'll take them. So.
Yeah. Well, obviously you didn't pick me for my class schedule being an engineering major, so maybe you learned your lesson from that, maybe. So, so thank you all again for tuning in. Really appreciate your time. Make sure to tune in with us for our next episodes. We continue our conversation here with Country, head football equipment manager at NC State, and we'll see you all then. Thank you all so much. Go Pack.